I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
All right, Chelsea fans, welcome back to the last match preview. That's right, the last match preview
ever.
Of the 2019-2020 Premier League season. It is over. It is almost done. It's almost in the books. Dan here. We also got Nick. Brandon is off doing something. I don't know, but he's missing out on some whiskey lineups here, Nicholas.
Oh, no. Look what I found. Hello, good friend. Oh.
Well, we are trying to make sure that we take everything into consideration, that we savor the fact that at least at the moment, Chelsea are in a Champions League spot at the moment. But of course, anything could happen. And I know Nick, our boy AJ, was hitting us up with the scenarios, wanted to make sure that we gave him a little bit of a dab. And why don't we run through what are the last possibilities on the match day? What are the scenarios where we qualify? And what are the scenarios where we would be knocked out of Champions League qualification?
The fun bits. So according to the handwritten note by our friend AJ Heston, Chelsea in both win and draw scenarios advance to the Champions League next season. So feeling pretty confident, and that is regardless of any Man United results, because they are ahead of us in the table now on goal diff. So we have to be cognizant of that. That a Champions League spot, if United wins and we win, will be fourth place and not third place. So you're kind of looking at a scenario for, you want United to lose and Chelsea to win to get third, if that's what you're shooting for. Where it gets dicey is if United wins and we lose, we are in. Still.
It sounds good. I like that.
Yep, sure. But then, Dan, it takes a dramatically worse turn. If United and Leicester draw or Leicester beats United and we lose, we are out of the Champions League and finish in fifth on goal differential and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's it. As AJ pointed out, we have 7 of 9 possible combinations to make it in to the Champions League. And he said, we can't F this up, right? Question mark.
Well, the other thing we could do is we could score 15 goals to negate the goal difference. That is an option. Is it possible? Maybe not, but it is something that we could try to do. Here's the important thing. The important thing is that in 7 out of the 9 scenarios, we advance to Champions League qualification. And the one thing about Chelsea is that we're consistently inconsistent this season. And after a unfortunate result against Liverpool, I would feel pretty confident we're going to come back and that Frank is going to have a little bit of a tinkering situation going on here. But Wolves also have European football on the line here. They could be gazumped by Spurs if Spurs beat Palace, most likely beat Palace. Wolves need to win. Otherwise, they're going to get knocked out of a top 6 spot for the end of the season.
Yeah, it's given where they're on the table and kind of how they've been on the come up for the last half of the season. You wouldn't have anticipated that they would have needed this game for anything other than Champions League, right? But they have slipped in their last couple of matches. You'll go through the form table here in a second, and it's the scenario that we didn't want, Dan. We didn't want to have to go into the last match of the season with both teams having something on the line, something to play for. It would have been ideal if we could have eked out a draw against Liverpool and gone into this being able to kind of do whatever. But it's all to play for now. Chelsea have to go out and get a result, and Wolves are going to be a tough team to get that result against.
Well, I think about where Wolves are at or where they've been currently. So their last couple of matches, a bit of a mixed bag. So they beat Crystal Palace most recently 2-0, had a draw against Burnley, huge game for Nick Pope in that game, 1-1 draw. They beat Ancelotti's Everton 3-0. They lost to Sheffield United 1-0. Arsenal put a little bit of a hurt on them, 2-0 win. Beat Villa 1-0. Going back, they barely beat Bournemouth 1-0 out of nowhere at the very, very tail end of that game. And so they are also not in a consistent run of form. So, maybe they have the scenario too where they had that bit of a good bump against, Palace here. had a good result against Everton. Maybe the next result is a draw or a loss, which would be perfect for us. And when you think about who scares you the most in that Wolves lineup, as we think about who the danger men are there.
That's Jimenez. I mean, it's Jimenez, it's Ruben Neves, maybe a little João Moutinho. But I mean, it's really Jimenez, and it's Jimenez against a incredibly up and down at best defense that we have. So we'll get into the reasons why we picked our respective lineups here in a second. But I did want to harken back to August of last year where we played Wolves, and I, almost a calendar year ago, we played Wolves in the early stages of the Premier League. It was an interesting match. It started off incredibly slow and sloppy. I went back and watched some of the match highlights today. And then out of nowhere, Fikayo Tomori, banger, maybe goal of the season still up there. Then Tammy Abraham turns on the gas, and we end up winning 5-2. And I think at the time, maybe we go back and listen to that match review, I think we were all kind of like, how did 5-2 happen? Like, incredible, right? Like, a Nuno team typically, while you do fear Jimenez, you also fear their structure, right? They don't typically leak a whole lot. They don't typically do stupid things. So, Dan, I don't know, Dan, how you're feeling about that, but the structure is going to be something we're going to have to figure out.
Well, they also, they have a similar goal difference to Chelsea. So they're plus 13 on the season, 51 goals for, 38 goals conceded. So they have not been, we have leaked many more than them, but they also don't score with as much regularity as we do. So that is a plus on our side. You mentioned a couple of players that I'm definitely concerned about. Neves from a dead ball spot.
Yeah.
Very concerning. Very, very concerning. I think the other one is Doherty in the box, just has been known to slot a goal in and has been very dangerous on the wings for them this season. So a lot of individuals that you can point to in that team. I think their general structure and being a little bit more hit on the counter makes me feel like we have some understanding of how to play against that. And I think I'll go with my lineup first because we usually put you on the spot in these, and I'm gonna be the bigger man here.
Well, first, take a drink if you're scared of set piece defense. Cheers. Hurts so good going down. Oh, all the way.
That's how scared I am. I am.
Yeah. Fair play, lad.
So I'm gonna go. It has to be Willie between the sticks. Just without a question. After the last match, you got to put him back there. I am switching it back to a back four, though, for my lineup. I'm putting Reece James on. I'm putting Rudy. I'm putting Zuma. I'm putting Aspie. I want the dedicated defenders on the wings to be really focused, really honed in, especially when you think about the way that Traore plays, the way that Neves plays, kind of trying to, get in. I really want more kind of solidity in defense. The comments from Lampard about Conte maybe be ready for this game. If there's any possibility he's ready, I'm putting him in my lineup. I'm going to equip him with Barkley, who's been back in the training photos, and Mount to give us a little bit of that forward action, which we have not seen that forward movement with the ball, especially kind of getting into positions to shoot and score from a little bit of distance. Then, I think William was pulled off for a reason to kind of try to give him a little bit of time to recuperate for this match. Pulisic, how can you not start him at this point? Unless that man's leg is falling off, he's going to start. And then Giroud has just been so impactful. I know that you're probably going to counter with a back three, but I just, those are the reasons why I want to go with that 4-3-3 for this match, or that 4-3-2-1, 4-2-3-1. It just makes more sense to me.
Which is why you're wrong, obviously. Unlike my typical disagreement, the fact that we both have Willie starting in goal is just a clear indicator. Like, there's no smoke screen around how I think Frank has responded to some of the Kepa stuff now. I mean, like, it's unfortunately just not the tail that went his way. And so I think in a must-win game, I tweeted this during the Liverpool match, actually, you have to go with Willie. You have to go with experience. You have to go with a guy who can command the box, even if he is prone to the odd flap or error, like Brandon has called out on multiple occasions on our show. I still trust him more right now, and in a must-win game, you have to go with people you can trust, right? So Willie's in there. I am definitely going with a 3-4-3, not only to match shape, but because I think genuinely when you look at how we played against Liverpool and you look how we played against United, we have looked just as fluid going forward as we ever have in a 4-3-3. But I think the added wings provide something there. And so obviously I'll go Aspi, but I'm throwing Christensen back in the mix since he was not on the injury report. I'm taking Rudiger out because he's looked shaky for me, man. He really has. I'm going to throw Zuma back in there. So I'm going to have Christensen play the sweeper, obviously, in that scenario. Then I'm going to have Alonso as my left wing back. I'm hoping he can give us one more really solid outing. Then I'm going with Kovacic and Mount in my midfield. I do not believe at all that N'Golo Kante is going to play in this match. I think that actually was a smokescreen just to get Nuno thinking about what he might have to deal with there. But, I mean, come on. He hasn't been healthy this, the second half of the restart. I mean, it just doesn't look good. And then, of course, I'm going to go with the front three of Pulisic, Giroud, and Willian. It would be criminal not to start Pulisic after what he did against Liverpool. I think that he showed me leadership when he came on to accept the responsibility of being down but not out. And so you have to start flying in this one. You have to put the fear of God in their back line, and you have to get them to the point where they kind of become like United did, that we control the tempo and we control the pace of the game. We're playing in their half. We're not giving up too much ground. There's not too much space between our lines. That's our way to victory here, and we just need to eke it out one more time. So I'm hoping that's the lineup that can do it.
The one question I would have, so if Conte is healthy, though, is he starting in your lineup over Kovacic potentially?
He's starting in my lineup over Mount.
Okay.
And not because I put a whole, I'm throwing Mason under the bus or whatever, but Kovacic and Conte have shown that they can work together well. Obviously, in terms of covering space, Mount is going to be a valuable option for me in my current setup. But, if you have the option to put in N'Golo Kante in your midfield, you're going to do it. So.
Yeah, so I see what you're saying there. I almost think, though, that in your lineup, if you throw Conte in, you pull Kovacic out, how that frees maybe someone like Reece James to push a little bit further forward, knowing that Conte potentially can drop back occasionally, cover up some of that ground. That would give some little flexibility there. Because Wolves are they're gonna tuck in. They're not gonna make it easy for us to find the channel, to find the passing lanes. That's where I'm a little concerned with the potentially like Kova and Conte scenario on yours. But in general, if you're telling me we've got Giroud and we've got Pulisic up top, that makes me, I don't know. Have we felt this good about an attacking like 2 or 3 recently in quite some time like this?
Well, Willian's gone off the boil a little bit, admittedly, right? I mean, he's still put in the effort, and I don't fault him for that, but he was clearly off against Liverpool. He hasn't scored in a couple matches. This is one of those sneaky games where he comes good, whether it's through a free kick or through a penalty or just through open play. He might just score one of his once-a-season bangers. I have a sneaky feeling about Willian scoring in this game, but I also think that if you're going to drive the ball forward on the left-hand side and that Pulisic's going to get every bit of attention that he deserves at this point, that Marcus Alonso becomes another sneaky scorer for me, just due to the attention that Pulisic's going to get and those overlaps. So I have a weird 2-1 combination with Willian and Alonso scoring. I'm hoping that comes true.
Well, so then that, in your prediction, we make it to the Champions League. We have a top 4 finish.
No, I didn't predict a score. Sorry, just like a 2-1 combo.
Got it, okay.
Not a score line. I'm super, super nervous for this game. I think just the way that Wolves set out, it's going to make it incredibly difficult. And you know that this team has kind of lived and died on confidence this year. So I fear that if we get into the 60th or 70th minute and it's level or we're down, that there's going to be so much pressure on the team to get back that we're going to see some sloppy play. So our best case, I think, is for us to go out, score early, dominate the tempo, dominate the possession, and I would be fine playing keep ball for the last 10 minutes if that's what it takes.
Well, let's hope that we don't have to worry too much too late into the match and that we are cruising to Champions League football yet again next season. Let us know what your lineups are. Drop them in the comments. But you know what? Championship Sunday is coming up very, very soon. We hope you enjoyed this preview, and you'll get a match review very, very soon after that. We'll spin that around super quick. But until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the faith and keep the blue flag flying high.